Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to all of the viewers that are live on Facebook and in Zoom. Welcome, everybody. So I'll just go ahead and get started because we only have about an hour today. It's a 60-minute discussion. I'll start right off in introducing what we're going to talk about today. So this is a really important time for biodiversity protection, this point in time right now. Just this year in Lisbon at the United Nations Oceans Conference, the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People, called the HAC, announced that 100 countries have now committed to protect 30% of the planet's lands and oceans by 2030, which is known as 30 by 30. And this is a goal that cannot be achieved without private sector engagement. So that is why we are speaking today with the Sasin Sustainability and Entrepreneurship Center. We're bringing conservationists into the business school. So my name is Mackenzie, and I will be the host today. And we are going to see how business can align on biodiversity protection goals. And so we're going to be welcoming Vivi Siriporn, Thailand's focal point on IUCN Commission on Education and Communication, and Niran Niranoot, Country Program Manager for Biodiversity Finance Initiative-BIOFIN for Thailand. So we really can't survive without the protection, the survival of biodiversity and the environment. And so these incredible guests are going to be sharing how they're doing just that, protecting nature to protect all of us. Kun Vivi Siriporn is the commission member and Thailand's focal point for UCN. And she holds a master's in environmental biology from Mahidol University and has worked in conservation and sustainability for more than 16 years with experience in international organizations like IUCN and UNDP. Siriporn helped set up the Thailand Business and Biodiversity Network Alliance, BDNA, which is ASEAN's first private sector-led biodiversity conservation platform, which was co-founded by IUCN and Toyota. And currently, Siriporn is a consultant on sustainability, business, and biodiversity. And then we have Ms. Niran Niranoot. She is the country project manager for the Biodiversity Finance Initiative-BIOFIN in Thailand, which is under UNDP. Kun Niran has spent her fair share of time in the private sector, though, where she worked for the Federation of Thai Industries, and where you supported private sector in advocating for policy changes through fair trade agreements and established trade dialogues between Thailand and the Middle East. Eventually, she joined the UN Office of Project Services on a tsunami recovery program, and then transitioned to the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, where she served as regional coordinator and chief technical advisor for the Technical Cooperation Among Developing Countries program to support smallholder farmers and agribusiness in the Greater Mekong subregion on integrated cross-border value chains development and organic certification systems. Her education background gives her perspectives in finance and political economy. And now she's involved in Finance for Nature to implement the Biodiversity Finance Plan roadmaps for a more sustainable future in Thailand. So welcome to both of you. I'm so honored to have you here today to talk on this fireside chat. So I will just allow both of you to introduce yourself and your initiatives. So maybe we can kick this off with Kun Vivi.
Yeah. Thank you, Mackenzie, for introduction. You introduced almost all my role already, but the role that I actually been involved is working as an advisor to Campaign for Nature, an organization that trying to advocate the information about the global target on conserving 30% of land and 30% of the ocean by 2030. The subject that will be relevant to our discussion today. Yeah.
Wonderful. And can you tell me a little bit more about the Campaign for Nature?
Yeah. Basically, Campaign for Nature was a collaboration between the Campaign for Nature and National Geographic. The movement have started many years, even before the end of the global biodiversity framework. The reason is that many scientists feel that right now we don't conserve enough, and we destroy at very fast rates. So they have reviewed a lot of scientific research, and everyone come up for the conclusion that at least if you cannot protect half, ideally you want to protect half, but of course we need to develop economy, everything as well. So and then they say like, okay, when we talk about biodiversity, people say like, what is biodiversity? So that's why awareness raising is important, but how you can raise awareness then is lead to the global campaign. So and National Geographic, I think many people quite aware that they are very good with using the visual, using the communication through science and scientific information. So through this partnership, they have worked with many country political by providing the information. And I think many countries in our area, Asia, quite reluctant, because as you mentioned already, 100 countries joining the campaign for nature, and this target the movement by the high ambition. By saying that they have this high ambition coalition, it means that setting the higher target, and this target is for the global, not for the countries. And maybe we don't really know, like, okay, but how much area we already conserved in the past. So I mean, let's say our world 100%, right? Currently only 15% of the land area is protected. And for the ocean, only 8% is protected. But this 8% out of, the world is comprised of 70% ocean, right? Only 2% is very, very well protected. So, and when we ask all the nations, almost 200 countries to commit to 30 by 30, what does it mean? We only have like 8 years left to conserve with this target. And like the United Nations and many countries before trying to have this target of 10% the ocean, it's failed, it's not success. And they also like have this target of 20% on land, also failed, not success. And like, how dare we even aim higher? But I think now everything changed. We saw private sector trying to like more aware now. They're trying to set their own target to reduce their environmental footprint. So things like this period now compared to 10 years ago is different. So maybe we can still have a hope.
Yeah, that is really hopeful in the kind of challenging space that we're in with the 15% conserved on land and 8% marine. I think that the shift in the last 10 years or even just 5 years has been pretty significant with companies finally coming and saying, wow, we really do need to shift the core of our business model, the actual very nature of what our business is. It's not just about the CSR projects anymore. Ideally, that's, it's really about the, how you're making your money, not what you do with your profits, right? Yeah, this is, but there's the challenge. You said that the countries themselves haven't been able to set their targets yet for the hack. So it's like, we can all do it together, but then when it comes down to individual countries, it can get a little bit more messy. Is that what I heard?
Yes, but I think the thing is like, let's look at Thailand, for example. We already struggle with the money that we use to conserve nature. I think Niran can elaborate that, like what is the situation it is, like let's say that we already don't have enough money to conserve what we have. So to conserve more, even more higher target where we can find the money. So that's why we would be talking about, financing gap, where we can like ask for the money. But the benefit is bigger than one country, right? Conserving something in Thailand also benefit the world. We see already right now in Europe, they are suffering from the heat wave. All the river are dry up, and a few years ago you saw like Wi-Fi everywhere, the flood and the drought. I think all the nations really realize now that the impact from the climate and also environment is more obvious now. So that's why if we really link, it's like, okay, if you don't do thing now, it costs more to repair later. So the one of the campaign that the United Nations launched in World Environmental Day last year, they call it like, okay, let's start the generation restoration, because we have damage, all ecosystem are damaged so bad. So that's why we, our generation, maybe I'm older than you, but also like someone younger, someone older, we still in the generation that we can still restore ecosystem that have been lost. And I think the concept of like, yes, it costs more for restore, but also you should also spend money to protect before it gets damaged.
Yeah, and that really is where finance comes in, because this is a big strategy problem, right? Like you need to preserve it, and you're right. It's so much more expensive to clean up a mess after, if it's even possible to clean it up after. So I think that that's where I'll point my next question to Niran, to talk about BIOFIN and this kind of high level financing through UNDP.
Right. You know what, when I received the invitation from Sasin, I was like, wow, finally we have a space for us to debate about biodiversity. You know, I really want us to think about the two facts that biodiversity should be put on the table to discuss, but most people may not realize. The number one, it's being destroyed at the alarming rate, as Vivi already mentioned. And the second one, it will have an implication on the business, and the biodiversity loss is the biodiversity, the business crisis for us. So this is the case that we want to think further. Talking about the biodiversity finance, we are the global program initiated by the UNDP back, you know, in 2012. In those days, we would like to find out the methodology that we can really close the finance gap. And this is the core element of the BIOFIN, that we want to promote investment to protect biodiversity. Right. Over.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here, Niran, and I do want to say too, I by no means want to debate you. I am just here to platform both of you and to make sure. I think that one of the things that's really, you know, just to kind of, you know, maybe do some self-promotion for Sasin, like one of the things that's really wonderful is that, you know, back in 2018, I think it was 2018, we shifted like the core ethos of the school to sustainability through entrepreneurial mindset. So we really have sustainability. It's not just a track, it's not just one course, it's integrated into every single course within our MBA and EMBA curriculum. So we're really making sure that this is centered, and that this is something that we're teaching through all of our courses for all of our students. And we want to make sure that we're thorough with it, because you're completely right. This is absolutely a business issue. You know, you can't make money when your backyard's on fire. So climate change, you know, sustainability, the biodiversity, these types of value chain issues, business has to care about them. It's not a choice, and it's not something that just tree huggers do. This is something that, again, it's a strategy issue. You can't clean this up after the fact. So if I could actually direct my next question to Vivi. So last month you hosted a technical seminar on biodiversity at Alliance Française. Could you maybe run us through just what that event was, what it meant, and maybe some key insights about biodiversity finance in Thailand specifically?
Yeah. Sure. Thank you. Last month we organized a few hour workshop where we invite the government from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment and many representatives from government agency that overseeing the protected area, both from the Department of National Park, Wildlife and Plant Conservation, or the DNP. We got representative from the Department of Marine and Coastal Resource Department, DMCR, and representative from the Fishery Department. So everyone come to share about, you know, the area that have been protected, what they're doing, what are the challenges. And we also the government also listen to us, the information that Campaign for Nature prepare on terms like the global movement, why we talking about this, what are the scientific research that have compiled to show that this global target is not based on just like someone said like, okay, let's do 30, but it's really based on the scientific research. And also we got economist, Dr. Orapan, to share about the number, you know, when we see the number to share like the cost of environmental destruction is very, very shocking. So with that immersion, we have Dr. Pet Manopawit also help facilitate the exchange and sharing. And what we see and how we feel after the end of the workshop is like, actually, we still have the hope because, you know, we start to see some commitment. It's not a lot, it's still a huge gap, but it's at least what you say, it's a moment where private sector, the government, the researcher, and academia, they're all starting to work together. And it's not only the conservationist, but we have the economists as well. So the time is kind of like the time is now, but the challenge is that, but how we can get the message that we discuss now in, you know, for 100 people to go out to reach more company, because at the end we like, okay, we need more, maybe 100 billion, but as long as we cannot say like, please, let's invest 1 billion more, and then your company can earn 2 billion extra. This is information that we still as it's a challenge for us to find the right way to communicate to them, because as of now you still have figure like, okay, this is a number, this is how much we need, but it's not clear. So we talking about more too. Another thing that was more interesting that we share is that when we talk about protected area, according to IUCN, we're talking about a national park, right? Because the protected area have a few categories. We have national park already, we have the marine reserve, we have wildlife, no hunting area. But to reach the 30% target, the UN and many countries adopt the new category called the OECM. And the thing is like too many acronyms, you know, so I will make it simple. So the OECM is like the other area that, you know, effective. For example, let's say that I own a land. Let's imagine that Vivi is a billionaire, right? I happen to own maybe 100 hectares of rice in the forest, but I don't do anything. So my land actually have a lot of, you know, wildlife, animal, something. But oh my God, I'm so lucky. Spoonbill sandpiper flying to my area every year. Oh my God, like, oh, and I don't want to need to destroy my land for anything. I just keep it for the reserve. And with this, I can declare my land as a privately owned land to conserve it for the biodiversity purpose. So this, and if we can find this type of area to conserve, to protect, then we can really reach the target of 30%. But the problem really need to speak here too, because Thailand, we need to earn more money from taxes. So just recently this year, they have the new law that the government will charge you higher tax if you don't utilize your land. By utilization, it's meaning if you don't turn your land into banana farming or some kind of farming, you will pay the maximum fee. And it's like this. So there are a few areas already happening in the Gulf of Thailand. People have the land title, land deed, but they haven't been utilizing the land. So by the ecosystem function, right? You know, the mangrove tree, the seedling setting down and grow like a forest. Normally they pay the land tax 3,000 baht per year, normally. But with the new land tax law, they have paid 230,000 baht, 200,000. And they thought like, shit, luckily I still have millions. So I'm like, okay, this year I will not cut, I pay because I'm still rich. But what about next year? If I will have to pay tax that much, maybe I don't want to conserve for nature. No?
Yeah.
So that's why it's really challenging, like, okay, we want to conserve, but can we make it easy for people to conserve? And what the benefit they,
No, you're completely right. I mean, the jungle tax is a really tough one to handle, both in the city and outside the city. That's something, so I'm close to a startup conservation project that's working in Thailand in the Western Forest Complex. And, you know, we're really facing that challenge too. And so it's like, it's also, you have to work around it and find innovative business models as well that allow you to be kind of utilizing the land without really utilizing the land. So this might be even the adoption of something like agroforestry, where you have more connection with the land, or you could have more, you know, expensive trees that you're planting interspersed. It's just making sure that you're taking care of that data-wise, you know what it is, but it's not impossible, right? To be able to get maybe a little bit around that tax issue. But it's a huge problem because if you don't know or have the will to make that extra model, do those extra steps, it's just a lot of hoops to jump through. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. And we need those other effective conservation areas, those OECMs, those privately protected areas to meet our targets. And I heard something before about some of the stakeholders that had come to the event at Alliance Française, like corporate and academia and policymakers, and one that I was there that I met, there was a startup called DFire, and DFire is they're actually the winner of the Thailand competition of the Sasin Bangkok Business Challenge, and so they're working on using carbon credits in the north of Thailand where there's agricultural burning going on. And so we're really focused on business models that integrate sustainability at Sasin. So that's, I think, one of the reasons that they won our competition. And so, there's also some startups that are working on e-motorcycles that are going on, or with Niran, I know that you have some experience with organic. So there are a lot of organic startups that are coming down. So do you feel like there are resources out there from maybe this BIOFIN angle, from this high level funding that would allow these resources to get down to early stage startups that have sustainability and biodiversity protection integrated into their business model?
Right, really enjoy listening to what Vivi just mentioned. I just want to add a bit on the term of the privately protected areas. I think we heard a lot about the initiative from the Bangkok Metropolitan. They want to promote Green Bangkok 2013, and this is the dream of our governor, that he wants to increase more green space for Bangkok people. And what I learned from this, I think he's now implementing Biodiversity Finance Solution, and maybe he may not know, because he now he's providing a kind of incentive for private sector or for individual who have a plot of land in Bangkok and register this to the the office in their own area, and they want to declare that this will be a green space, and they will co-finance this program by BMA will put some money and the private sector also will put the money, and then they decide the area. And I hope that we will have more green space, and no more banana plantation, like Vivi said. The real biodiversity is not just banana trees. We need different type
in the
of
barrels, right?
Frogs or whatever, lizard, even snakes, right? We saw a lot of snakes recently. So I'm glad that we are moving to this direction, and that people should be incentivized to be part of the solution, and not just to bury the whole thing and then just plant some tree to avoid land tax. And this is the good thing. And talking about the startup, I really appreciate the idea that the fire think about this. We struggle a lot how to solve the PM2.5 air pollution, and what they're trying to do is they provide incentive to smallholder farmers to do good thing, and I think they focus more on mitigate risk. They want to make sure that the whole chain of this supply chain will not create pollution, and then they have a means of compensation for those who didn't burn any residue, and that's a really smart way. And talking about promoting the electric vehicles, I'm sure that the government is now promoting this, and they introduce a kind of green subsidy for manufacturers to produce those vehicles, and they can claim for that subsidy. When we talk about financing for biodiversity, it's not just mobilize resources and then dump it into conservation, but we need to look at it as a bucket. So we try to close all those holes and not to get anything leak. So the subsidy that we are now introducing to our country sometimes is very harmful to biodiversity, and the politician may not know about that, or even some campaign that they want to, guarantee the price of the crop. Sometimes it will not do good to biodiversity. So we need to work on that, to reduce the subsidy, right? We are now working with some group of biodiversity-based enterprise also, and we try to find a kind of like angel investor who might want to work with this startup. Like you said, we help them, groom them how to build the profile of the company, and then work on the financial flow, and then to attract more angel investor. I think this is how you do the business matching, and then we'll help them grow together, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that we've noticed a lot too, is that, you know, there are impact investors out there that want to invest in really quality social enterprises that can bring the impact and really like strongly measured impact. I think is the key word there, is the measurement, and with the profitability. But that matching is really it's so important to make sure that these people are finding one another. And sometimes that's not even just coming from just Thailand. You know, sometimes these impact investors are coming from globally. Making sure that Thailand is on the map for these biodiversity-based businesses is so important. I think can you want to shout them out if that's okay? If you don't want to, that's okay too. But do you know the startups?
You mean the fire?
Yeah, well, the startups that you're working with.
Oh, okay. We select 5 social enterprise that have positive impact on biodiversity. One of them is the Fisher Folk Group. We want to introduce sustainable supply chain of the fishing, and they managed to get that product right in Bangkok with the sustainable way of fishing. And then we try to match them with the impact investor from Singapore, like you said. We groom them, and then look at their profile, and then help them to present their case, and that's really helpful. And another one is I forgot the name. They try to reduce the burning from the rice field, and they can also help promote this incentive to smallholder farmers who didn't burn anything, so they will get a premium price. So this is the concept, the basic one, right?
Oh, that's fantastic. Do you know what programs are incubating them? Is this through UNDP? Yeah.
Yes, right. Yeah. We also work with the SDG Impact investor, the team, and right. And yes.
Okay, it's really great. Like it's really nice to know kind of where the ecosystem is at too, just so that if we have social enterprises coming to us, that we know where to send them for the right resources.
Right. Mackenzie, actually, when you find impact investors, sometimes you never know that what we start, like the work that we start in Koh Tao. Actually, we promote the concept of crowdfunding during the COVID-19 recovery, and we managed to get support from one of the top banking institute of Thailand to be the initial backer. So they finance 30% of the crowdfunding. They support those vulnerable groups who suffer from lacking of no income during the lockdown. By working together, with community, with the local government unit, with the enterprise at the island, the finance sector become, they play the different role from being just a donor. Now they become the investor. They invest, they put more money with the project and try to groom the communities to be able to, become the enterprise. So maybe the entry point may not be just investing, but you find the entry point for them to get to know, to build the business together, and then they finally become the partners. I think sustainable partner is the key thing to make things happen, right?
Yeah, that's really well said. That's really well said. It's like, it's not just about the money, it's about the capacity building and making sure that the community itself, that these enterprises that are coming up are able to run by themselves, and that there is the autonomy of the people that are running them to be able to do with it what they want. And so that partnership is, yeah, I've seen it too. It's a really wonderful trend that's up and coming.
Can I add to Kun Niran? I think there's a trend now among the bank. I think the UN through the Global Compact have trying to work with many banks to have create this trend like responsible banking, where the bank would not fund fossil fuel activity, or they call the thing like the green bond, right? I think K-Bank is the first one to release the green bond. So like the sponsor for this talk. So I think like we as a consumer, trying to be aware too, like, like, oh, what is a green bond? What is the trend? What does it mean for us? And maybe if you want to start a business that's good for nature, for something, right? I think the trend of the social enterprise is that, like, it's completely change the mindset. You make your business for impact. You not make business only for the profit. And now you can reach out to the bank that can give you loan for that. So I think it's very, very good timing. And I think there has been in the global movement, I think they are this movement trying to talk to the what you call กองทุนเกษียณอ่ะเขาเรียกว่าอะไรนะคะ
sovereign you mean the pension fund?
Yes, pension fund, because actually pension fund, they have a lot of money, and the thing is like they're trying to link between, like, if you don't invest in nature protection, there's no point to have the pension fund, because you will be retired in the very bad world. So for me to learn about that, like, oh, why I never thought about the pension fund before. So I think it's very important, to keep telling that, like, we need more investment, for nature. But what I learned, I think a few days ago, there really big symposium on around net zero, and one of they have like investor forum, and the investor from the private company, they said like, oh, I've been in this sustainability looking for investment for more than 20 years, and he said like he found a huge gap. He see that don't have enough good project from Thailand. So that's why when Kunita said, like, we try to grooming, make case, building trust, being the bridge. I think we need more people who have capacity. Maybe we need more social enterprise to be the bridge between the community that doing some good thing, but they do not speak English. They do not know how to communicate. They don't know how to write report, but they have investors who want to do something good, but really they don't have, where to put their money on. I can share from the experience when we were managing the program called Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, or the CEPF. It's a global project, where we have the donor putting money through the Nature Conservancy, have the money from the Japanese government, France government, even private sector. So everybody give into the bucket, like Niran said, they have the money here, they have the limit, they have the ceiling, but they only going to invest in protection of the endangered species or the endangered ecosystem. But the thing is, in Thailand, when we announce a call, like, okay, here's a list of the animal that we will support. But at the end, when the community cannot read English very well or the detail, we make a call, people submit, and maybe 90% is not eligible because they don't read very well what this grant is about. So seeing that is meaning Thailand is missing a big opportunity on getting, resources external.
Yeah, that's a good point on grant writing too. It's a very, I don't know, dare I say, exclusionary process, writing grants. Even if you know what you're doing, it's so hard, and it's like there's so much failure involved to get grants. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to add on what Vivi just mentioned. I think to me, working with small enterprise or SME, right? They account around, I think, more than 90% of the total and enterprise in Thailand. So they are the one who run the whole, business. I would say that. So we need to work on that and then build capacity, but different sector will need different type of support. Like even when like Vivi said, we work with small communities. The basic idea that we want to understand what they are lacking of is do they understand what finance is? So financial literacy is another key element that you need to work with local community. If even they want to set up their community enterprise, but they do not understand the whole balance sheet, you know, the money, how they come. And this is the basic idea that we need to help and move this forward together. I'm not sure if the entrepreneurs who join this session would be able to have a chance to talk to any community. I think your contribution can be this kind of like knowledge sharing. You can share any, you know, of your business model and help groom them how to develop maybe just a business case, help them to understand this. One of the examples that Vivi shared, I like the idea that you help them to find the money, but when money arrives, they do not know how to spend that, and that's another problem. And we should not make this happen in Thailand, right? Yes.
Yeah, building that bridge is really important. Like, and there are some, I think, like incubators and accelerators that are kind of working in that space, right? Like Seed comes to mind. Like Seed's a good one. But the issue too then is like the centralization of these kinds of services in Bangkok. You know, we need to be able to actually also take this knowledge and bring the actual knowledge exchange itself and decentralize it. Because that's usually a huge barrier. It's like, you know, you come up and you have to do a, you know, 3-4 day training and things. It's like that's a lot. That's a lot to leave, you know, if you're living 10 hours away by bus or something.
Yeah. I like what you mentioned, Mackenzie, when you work in Bangkok, you have to think about subnational level, because if you want to create impact on biodiversity finance and conservation, you have to go far beyond Bangkok. What we are trying to do is we introduce the concept of result-based budgeting for local government units. While we want to work with the government unit, like the municipality, you know, sub-district organization, because they have their own budget, and they are the one who need to be informed about the biodiversity risk or opportunity so that they can budget enough to protect the biodiversity in their own home, and they understand better, you know. And this is the way how we try to reduce pressure on the budgeting for the national government, right?
Yeah, and that helps with the decentralization. Yeah. Sorry, Kunji, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And yeah, we would like to add to Niran about the role of the municipality, because I think that's what you call the sword have two edges, right? So when they have the budget, sometimes without when they have a development project without knowing, can make the case. It's public case now. One municipality together with the Tourism Authority of Thailand, right? They want to promote the tourism on the beach after the COVID. So they didn't know, so they kind of like destroy the whole beach ecosystem that have been accumulated for over 1,000 years. And that without realizing that like the beach is not just the beach, the morning glory is not just morning glory, they have roles. So I think instead of paying to restore that, you know, the beach, the ecosystem that been destroyed, also it's also important to find the money to give the knowledge training to municipality as well. To protect and conserve the ecosystem, not just the species.
Right. May I share about the latest biodiversity finance solution that we are implementing? We introduced the concept of tourist user charge collection. We work with the Kok Tao municipality office to amend the ordinance. I would say that I respect the team at municipality office, because trying to change legal framework in Thailand, you know, whatever, it's such a big job, and they want to work together with us and try to introduce the concept of generating revenue from those who come to use their biodiversity resources. So the concept is that the municipality prepare the ordinance and then endorse this to the level of the governor of Surat Thani, and they got endorsement. With that legal framework ready for them to implement this, they finally can announce the collection of the user charge at 20 baht for tourists who come to Kok Tao. Only 20 baht. Why? Because don't want to go against the regulation or laws. They want to make sure that they keep their promise. The money will be channeled to coral reef restoration. And this is not just a part of the work of the municipality. Local community come together at the office of the municipality, working, planning together to build a budget for their own sub-district. Business operator like diving operator, tourists, hotel, taxi boat driver, everyone got a say in planning their own budget. And I want to replicate this kind of model in order to build this kind of like ecosystem for resource-based budgeting in Thailand, right? Over.
Where's next?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
what you do is actually contributing to the 30 target. You create.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks, Vivi. When you talk about the right to have clean air, some people may not realize that ocean is the sort of producing more than 50% of oxygen to us. People just focus more on planting more trees, but you have to preserve, like you said, 30% of oceans, and this is the impact that people from the small island of Koh Tao want to contribute to this 30 by 30 targets, right? Yes.
Yeah.
And the special thing of this finance solution is that it's being implemented in a non-protected areas in Thailand. Like Vivi mentioned earlier, that national parks or any parks can introduce entrance fee for visitor, and you have to pay, and the money will channel back to the DNP, Department of National Parks, Wildlife and Plant Conservation. But the area like Koh Tao or any other island in Thailand, they are not part of protected area, so they don't have right to charge any tourists, but they have to work from the scratch, how to amend the legal framework and then do the promise to the tourists, and then make sure that the money will be channeled to environmental conservation efforts. This is the model that we want to introduce more in Thailand, right? Yes.
That's a fantastic model, and I hope that you can scale it to other islands and other municipalities.
Yeah, you asked where will be the next one, right? We have a lot of many islands want to be part of this, and let's see if we can introduce and replicate this at a national level. That would be good.
That'd be fantastic.
Because you know that the budget for environment, it keep reducing, yearly. Like last year, 47% of the budget were cut, and that's a really sad story for us. But we understand some priorities of the government budgeting process, but they need to understand that if they want to achieve the whole SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, the foundation of SDG that can make us achieve the whole SDG is SDG 14, life below water, SDG 15, life on land, and SDG 13, the climate change. So I think we need to inform decision maker that don't put money into the wrong direction. Otherwise, in the long run, the country cannot, benefit from the, tourism industry that generate more than 20% to the GDP. And this is like bread and butter to our economic growth. And if you put it into the wrong direction, I think Thailand may not have anything left to show to the tourists, and no one will come to our country, right? And that will give a big, impact to our business, right? Because biodiversity loss is the crisis to business operator in Thailand, right?
And another problem is actually we also have the pollution issue, plastic pollution that kill the biodiversity, the turtle or the whales. And I think every issue is very connected. And now all the business sector, they are really like trying to commit to their net zero target, right? But how we can make them committing to zero biodiversity loss target or contributing to put the money to the common area. For example, can we have like all the factory in the industrial real estate conserve the whole marine or the forest of Chonburi province? If we could create model case like that, I think we really what you call it collective effort.
Well, speaking of a model case like that, like if I could ask a question too about maybe the background that you have of working in the BDNA program. I feel like you've spent so much of your career like just straddling between the conservation, the science world of conservation, and then business. And really, I guess I have one question. It's just if there's one thing that you wish that businesses would know about protecting nature, what would that one thing be? What would you want to tell them?
I think they first have to understand how their business impact nature. Starting from first building the factory, and there are the reason that we need to destroy part of Khao Yai National Park for more water, or now there more demand search for the EEC, the new zone. Do they have the clear policy that are energy, water, resource efficiency, or do they build or release wastewater? I think the question is like reflect. First, what is your environmental impact? Of course, everybody have to build the EIA, but it's just a report, right? So after that, you also have to understand your product, how it impact the environment or the behavior of the people. Is your company promote too much consumption? If your company promote that you do, but actually in real you don't do. So I think go back to your company operation, your product, how you operate, and understand your impact. I think right now many company is engaged through the organization like UN or IUCN. They try to work with private sector to understand their impact to the biodiversity assessment impact, something like that. Because my struggle in the past 3 years as well, to talk biodiversity to the business. Yes, of course, the business say like, okay, tell us what is the loss the company will get if they don't do. But it's become very abstract because it's not clear, because what we have now is maybe from this. So but they want to see, but I can give them more better explanation now. For example, now the consumer, everybody want to drive EV car, electric vehicle, because now the government give like the tax leeway, right? So it's actually cheaper to buy electric vehicle. And as a consumer, maybe like, I change too because I want to be environmental friendly. And now big car with combust engine, they actually facing the crisis because maybe they don't adapt fast enough with the technology. So in the long term, maybe 10-20 years, this car model will be out of business, because now really high demand, not only Thailand but also all the European Union, they already changed their policy. So that's it. This caught from the biodiversity. It is because biodiversity loss causing climate change and everything connected. So my challenge in biodiversity is that, okay, it's abstract. So that's why in my past year, I was trying to talk plastic pollution and biodiversity together. Give example of, like 3 years ago, whale died, we found 8 kilos of plastic trash, dog dugong died, all these things died. So if we can solve both plastic pollution, if Thailand and all these things we are more cleaner, tourism will be better too. Kun Niran said like, okay, maybe tourists not come back, but of course, who come to Phuket saw a lot of trash everywhere on the beach. It's not nice. Maybe they go to Bahamas or something like that, right? So really, I think the issue we have to talk about biodiversity loss in a way that is impact the tourism. And I think at the event, someone say like, actually Thailand earn a lot of money from biodiversity on the national park or the natural resource, right? But then we never monetize it. We never say like, come to Mukosuri National Park for this amazing sea, and you pay actually much more than 200 baht national park fee, because it actually, its value worth so much, but we never pay what you call the value that the nature worth.
Yeah, that's true. It's not, because it's not being necessarily measured, right? Like, and there's the adage, right? If it's measured, it's managed. I think I said that same thing in the air pollution fireside chat a couple of months ago. And that's I think at Sasin too why we really focused on systems thinking, and why even in a lot of the advisory work that the SEC does, it's like systems thinking is it's the first things. There's a lot of times where I think companies are trying to look at their impact as this they might be looking at the impact of their factory, but then they're like, well, our factory is now net zero. It's like, oh no, it doesn't work like that. It's like you have to go and look at all of the different areas that you're affecting, where are the upstream and downstream effects that you have, right? Like, did this affect Kauai National Park because you needed more water? And being able to give people the tools and the capacity to actually dig into that and have like some critical thinking with what actually needs to be measured, what needs to be valued, and then how to do that valuation would come right after, right? Yeah, that's a really good point about the national parks.
And if I can share some maybe good example, some company, I mean, I'm not sponsored by Toyota anymore, but I used to work with Toyota for the Within A project. But the thing, so Toyota have set up the project called the Biotope, where they use the factory area to restore some of the biodiversity and the native tree species. And at the end, that area become the niche. They have like many very diverse biodiversity, and they set it as a learning center. So the family of the factory or the student can visit. And this is an example. One factory can do that, but we have so many factory. Every factory have the area, and if the business want to really play a part, they can also maybe discuss together how they can create connectivity, build more green area between the industry. Connect from this factory, maybe more tree, more local tree, plant tree along the road, so that have more green area, more species for the bee and bird, the insect. So this is something that they can do, and it's both help them hit their climate target and also their biodiversity target. And the thing that one thing that I want to private sector to be aware about, planting tree to offset carbon, they should do not only just because of tree can sequester carbon, but think about biodiversity, because if you plant tree for biodiversity, it serves more beyond than just the number of carbon that they absorb.
Yeah, and in the end, planting trees is good, but it's a lot better to make sure that trees are not cut down, that mature trees are not cut down, and that's both within the city and outside the city. The value of a 100 or 200-year-old tree is so much more than 200 saplings, right? So I know that we have about 7 minutes or so left, so I just wanted to check and just put this out that there's some questions in the Q&A now, so we want to check that out. So the first question is concerning business investment that might negatively affect natural resources and biodiversity. Do you think, should we have a more convenient tool where businesses can track their investment or financial support, and how it should look like? So maybe, again, we said EIA can be done, but not all business activities are required to comply with EIA. So I guess this is really about tracking that value, tracking that investment. Do you have any tools that you can think of?
I think they are developing the task force for nature disclosure, right? They are working on that, but it's not. I think that I don't think a lot of company know about that. So
is it called again? I don't know about that.
Task force for nature disclosure. Yeah, it's a kind of report that you have to submit, like to disclose all the activity of your company. And it will be like a big corporate, you have to comply with that. Yeah.
And it's specifically for protection of nature?
Yes. You know what? I try to put myself into the shoes of a business operator, and what I should be aware of is risk that can impact my business. No matter what are you doing, like you're trying to save this or plant more, trees, but just look at your supply chain, the whole chain when you have this end product. I want business people to look at each, like you said, McKinsey, the upstream, downstream, the players along your supply chain, try not to get this disrupt by working with those who does, I mean, they don't care about biodiversity. You have to sometimes conduct some due diligence, and you know, and with that you will be able to avoid some costs that may, you know, later charge you by against some regulatory in that area, like against the environmental law. And also you have to keep your reputation, because once you lost your reputation of doing bad thing for biodiversity, it costs you beyond your expectation. Some company that already, you know, caused the oil spill in Royong, and I will not name that, and that's something that you cannot get back to your reputation, and the impact is more than what you can imagine. And also by doing good for biodiversity, you will find more opportunity to do your business. I give some example from a big corporate like Nestle. They have their mineral water retail, and you know they just get that mineral water from the area, but they invest some money, like 25 million euros, and to try to protect that ecosystem, and they help, you know, maintain. They work with the local people who preserve that ecosystem so that they can get their product, and then they can generate more money and also create opportunity and also doing good for biodiversity. And I'm sure we can measure some of the impact, and there are several tools. I think what Vivi mentioned, Stock Exchange of Thailand said they already working on this task force for nature disclosure report, and they will come up with a guideline. You also can learn from that, and then some small measurement will, you know, count a lot. Yeah, start bit by bit from small thing, right? You plant more trees, you measure that you can preserve this, you know, animals, you know, before and after, like Vivi said, Toyota, they did that in their own plants, and they did that measurement, and that's really matter to their sustainability report, right? So look at the risks and opportunities. I think that's the basic thing for business, right?
Yeah, and it's a big risk, and it is a big opportunity to not protect and to protect biodiversity. It's really just about making sure that we have the right people in the right places, getting this information out to the right people. But speaking of that, we have another question that came in. So someone from the Khonsi Thammarat asked if they can make any contributions to sustainable tourism, potentially using the Got model. So you might have an advocate down in the Khonsi Thammarat. Yeah.
I just visit Nakhon Si Thammarat. Yeah, last month I attended the training organized by the Valailak University. They're now promoting the concept of plant conservation, and they conduct a very interesting field visit to one of the oldest archaeological area, and they use that area to introduce the concept of cultural value of biodiversity that people in the old days, they you know, so this can be a type of sustainable tourism that people from the Khonsi Thammarat can think about, that in those areas, people in the old days, they built this and they use this medicine from this plant. I think this is the concept that community can think about, right? Yeah. We may share some more from the activity with the community. Yes, in the Khonsi Thammarat.
Long time I've been to the Khonsi Thammarat.
And it sounds like a really amazing initiative. It really
they
does.
have one McKinsey. They just built one canopy, and this is an amazing area where people can just walk up and see the whole you know, scene of the mountain in the Khonsi Thammarat, and they can get educated from different type of trees in those areas. And this is another area where you can generate revenue from promoting ecotourism in the area. Yes.
Well, that's.
I'm not sure if I mentioned about we should work together with the community forest, you know, the group to empower them, to with the knowledge, because I think it's not enough just because when people go to the forest without knowledge or local guide that have very detailed knowledge on biodiversity, I think it will be the add-on value with that, and tourists also can contribute to the conservation of that forest back to the 30% target.
So I know that we're like really out of time. Are you guys okay to be here for about 5 more minutes? Okay. So there's one more question. I feel like it's a good one. So there's one more question that says, do you know any tools or methods that are currently used that help farmers link the finance and biodiversity together? So where are these avenues to find these tools and methods to look at environmental impact or maybe impact finance for farmers?
I may share some of experience when we work with smallholder farmers to introduce the organic certification system. One of the finance solutions that you can introduce is the certification system, because farmer will, try to, they can follow the standard that you like introduce organic standard, and doing good with organic farming can, already benefit biodiversity in the land area.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, they will get a premium price of doing good for their own, farming. In order to get to the market, I think we, from our experience, we work from the market first. We get the buyers who ready to pay for this premium price because they appreciate this effort from, organic farming. This can be the model that you can look at. But doing organic farming, it's costly because sometimes you need to be able to find some budget to do the certification, and inspection is really matter. So you have to work with farmer. One of the projects that we're trying to work is we are trying to make a sustainable condom by working with smallholder farmers in the south to grow sustainable rubber tree. And they said, oh, our rubber tree will be sold in Europe, and brand with sustainable condom, and they're so proud of that. So you just work from the market and then come back to the smallholder farmers, and then the money will come, certification system will come, and then you build a whole ecosystem for them, and then introduce them to the world market that can help them. Yeah,
I can't wait to see the advertising on that.
I see that also, and so, okay. I may want to see I will share the video later. Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Sustainable condom, right? You will never get that.
Would you mind quickly just saying what that community was in the Kansi Tamarat that you were working with, just so that we can have the attendees look it up?
Actually, the one that we work with, they're not in the Kansi Tamarat. I mean, the sustainable condom, they're from the Songkhla province.
Oh, in Songkhla. Well, yeah. I think it might have been a question before. Sorry, I was going back to the chat.
Oh,
my apologies. Is it just in the Kansi Tamarat city that was the community that you're working with?
Yes, we're working with the University of Walaila, and we have a group of trainers who receive a training program to become plant conservationists, and they want to become a taxonomist, right?
So Walailak, which is WALAI.
Walaila, LAK.
Yeah. Okay. Right. There we go. Cool. Thank you. Right. Yeah. And going back to the organic, the organic note, yeah, it can be really costly to go organic and time consuming too. I think there's another startup that's here called Happy Grocers that's working to build the demand for organic in kind of Bangkok area. But I think that's what's neat is, and I was just talking to them a couple of days ago about building a market also for sort of almost organic products that haven't yet been certified, that are in that process, because that type of transition period is so hard. You need so much capital to make that happen. So I appreciate the note on that. I think it's really important that these business models need to be inclusive and they need to bridge the gap, and so does the demand. We need to be able to educate the consumers as well, and I guess that's something we didn't touch on. So a chat for another fireside chat on another day, I think. Oh, and we had another just note in the, not a question, but note that said that Pornratai wanted to share a tool called Cool Farm Tool, which can track all agricultural investment and carbon emission for a better plan for farmers. So thank you so much for that tool. And I'm really happy to end on that, something really neat and actionable to look up. So unless either of you have some closing words that you want to say before we log off.
Maybe Vivi first.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad that Kun Pornratai joining. She now currently the managing the BDNA project. So I think one thing that I would like to maybe pass on to the platform is that since it's a Asian first business private sector led platform on diversity, I think you can also play the role on collecting data information on the company that made good example, set high standard that make a biodiversity impact, to share the story and maybe set the role model for the other to follow. I think we can create what you call the snowball effect, because I feel that this information only know among us, the niche group. So if we can make it like get out the story, oh, this company do that, oh, this company also have eco park, I think we can really create like the trend among the factory, like, oh my god, we now have to have the forest park in our property as well. So, and I think when our last conversation talking about organic agriculture, I think it's very, very important issue, because we eat every day and we never question where our food come from. And many people don't know the impact of agriculture on the biodiversity. So I would ask everyone to continue to search for more information, look where you eat, support Happy Grocer, our partner. Yes. So thank Sasin for having us, and continue to learn from you as well. Thank you, Niran,ด้วยค่ะ. Really lovely to meet you.
And thank you both. This was such a wonderful talk. As a fellow project-based conservationist myself, I really appreciate talking to you, and I hope that we can build really nice knowledge exchange partnerships in the future, and make sure that this really, really important issue is integrated into what we're teaching, what we're advising. Yeah, thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you so much. Yes.
That we will log off. Thank you everyone for coming, and please do stay tuned for the next one. Okay. Bye everybody.